At Delaware Orthopedic Specialists, you're never left in the dark. Not only are they the only fellowship-trained surgery center here in the state of Delaware, all of their providers are also specialists, which means that they're focusing on each and every part of the body specifically, so that when you come in with knee pain, you're getting a doctor specifically devoted to that. Wrist pain, wrist doctor, foot pain, foot doctor, so on and so forth. Why would you go anywhere where you're just going to get a general doctor that knows overall body when you can get somebody that knows the ins and outs of your exact injury? They're going to hold your hand and walk you through each and every step of the process so that you won't have any questions and you'll know exactly what you should be expecting. My family and friends trust DOS, and you should too. Give them a call at 302-655-9494 or head on over to delortho.com. Let them know that Talkin 215 sent you. And after they give you phenomenal care, head on over to Google, give them a great review.
Welcome to Talkin 215, your go-to podcast for everything you need to know about Philly sports. Whether you bleed green, trust the process, fly with the Flyers, or fight with the Fightins, this is the place where we break down Broad Street. Jake, Sean, and Joey deep dive into the heart of Philly sports culture, breaking down games, roster moves, and sharing the stories that make the 215 truly legendary. So grab a cheesesteak, settle in, and let's get to Talkin 215. Now here's your host, Jake Biasado.
All right, we got the whole cast back in action. Coach, Sean, the whole gang. Tom's going to be in here momentarily. Let's hope. I would imagine. We'll find out. What we won't find out is what the hell's going on with the Phils, because we already know. We've already been talking about it for weeks. Coach, you've talked about it a lot. Sean, you've touched on it. You've been a little bit more optimistic than most here in the Talkin 215 room. But guys, what the hell is going on?
I tell you what, it's definitely everybody reverting back to the mean, right? Playing like the players they are on the back of their baseball card. In addition to a couple starters we have that are missing some time, right? I mean, we're fielding, was it Tyler Phillips? And I'm going to forget the new kid's name that we just called.
Colby Allard.
Colby Allard, right? That guy doesn't look like a professional. His pants are too big.
That's not a baseball name.
His pants are too big for him.
Yeah,
I don't know. I tell you what, though, my biggest takeaway over this last week or so since the last episode, last time we sat and chatted, is that we are so they're so fortunate that they're over on the West Coast and playing these games at 9:40 at 10:10. You know why? Because we would be
nobody's watching.
We would be fuming at this team, okay, to give up 4 runs to tie the game late and lose it in extras against the Mariners a couple games back. This fan base would be pissed off and totally out on the Phillies if it didn't happen at 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, right? The vibes are only somewhat good. There's only this argument because they haven't seen them blow these games. Right, they haven't seen them because they've, like me personally, I've only seen it, the first half of most of these games. Guys, I got work in the morning, right? I'm waking up in the morning and seeing, oh, we blew another one, we lost another one in extras. Like, and because I didn't see it personally, I'm not so pissed. But I tell you what, I'd be fuming if I stayed up late, or if I even just spent 3 hours to watch the games, and that was the product that we're seeing,
boys. And since you said you didn't stay up to watch the game, I did the thing. You and I were having a conversation on Twitter. I was like, I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, check my phone, and I'm going to be pissed. And I was. And then I was just like, let me just see like the summary in the 9th inning, right? Like,
no. You don't want to talk about that.
Oh, I do real quick, Jake, because you already know, and this is a Talkin 215 staple. Casty gets on with a 9-pitch at bat. He gets a single, 9-pitch at bat. My boy's seeing pitches, okay? 9-pitch at bat. There was not a double play in the 9th inning. Leadoff man is on with no outs. The inning ended 3 pitches later, and there was not a double play. Again, hear what I'm saying. Runner on first with no outs and without a double play, the inning ended 3 pitches later. Do the math on the patience at the plate there, guys. That's swinging at the first fucking pitch. And if you follow me on Twitter, you probably don't because I'm a loser maniac. I always say, don't swing at the first pitch because they have a 99.99% chance of just the easiest out you've ever seen in your life and giving the pitcher an easy out. And boys, I'm going to sound like such a bitch right now, okay? I really, really am. But I'm going to get emotional talking about this because there's not many things in my life outside of my family, obviously, that I love more than the Eagles, but the Phillies are a very, very close second. And I think if you're a diehard Philly fan, it's tough for outsiders to realize what that love, what that passion is for them, right? Like the term ride or die, like really is there. Like when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I cried. I was with my family. Like it was such an occasion. And this Phillies team has really made us feel like a part of them, right? Like Jake and Sean, you've been to playoff games. You said that atmosphere, the shaking, high-fiving strangers, you know what I'm saying? Just the white towels that everybody, the bedlam at the bank, everything. It makes you feel like a family. It makes you feel part of it. And I'm so fucking sad, guys, because this team that I thought was capable of so much, I'm about, after this West Coast road trip, I'm either going to be in or out. I'm being 100% honest with you.
Wow.
I can be called a fair weather fan. I could be called whatever. I am seeing things right now that I don't think are fixable and that I don't think are changing. And have you guys seen The Breakfast Club, the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been a while, but yeah.
They're all inside detention in the library. The premise of that whole movie is when all these outsiders of different waves of life, different popularities, they're tight, right? They bond. The nerd, the jock, the goth, this, that, the prom queen. But when they go back into school, they're worried about, being different, being individuals, not talking to each other, not bonding. That's what the Phillies are. Inside the locker room with the vibes DJ guy, they're the tightest knit. They're the Breakfast Club. They're inside detention, baby. But when they step in that box, they are all individuals. And what I mean by that is nobody is sacrificing a runner over. Nobody is working a pitch count so the next guy can see pitches. Nobody is bunting runners over to put the guy in scoring position for the next play because they all want to be that guy. And every time, Sean, that we had this conversation, you and I last week, that I compared the Phillies to the Eagles, and I had to preface, don't attack me. I know the baseball is 162. The Eagles isn't. Think about a zero technique nose tackle, right, guys? He's not trying to get sacks. What's he trying to do? Draw a double team, right? He's trying to take up two blockers so that his boy can come free, so that a defensive end can loop around, so that a middle linebacker can hit that gap. Think about a fullback. He's not running the ball, but what is he doing? He's lowering his helmet, and he's taking out that linebacker so the running back can have a clear lane. That is sacrificing for the team. That is knowing your role. The Phillies do not do that. The Phillies are the zero technique that rushes upfield, loses gap integrity because he wants the sack, and then the running back runs for 25 yards. That is this Phillies team. Hero ball no matter what, just like the Eagles did last year trying to get by. Hero ball no matter what. Zero fucking adjustments. And the league has caught on. They have caught on. If your starter doesn't go 7 innings and your top 4 aren't hitting home runs, the Phillies are not going to win a ball game. And that's why I'm so sad. That's why I'm emotional, because I don't think they can fix it.
Well, you're definitely a bitch, but you're also a liar, because there's no shot that you're out on this team after this West Coast. Like, yeah, we all say
I'm talking out my ass, but I'm just sad, man. I'm fucking
sad.
It's
ridiculous. No, it's ridiculous. And you want to talk about chemistry? Everybody's like, chemistry in this team is so big. We have guys on this team only because of alleged chemistry. And I'm talking about Garrett stinking Stubbs. Garrett Stubbs has no right to be on an MLB roster on any team, on the White Sox, on any team. Garrett Stubbs is absolutely worthless. If he didn't play an aux cord better than the guy next to him, he would not be on this team. You know what's good for chemistry? Winning. It doesn't matter how great of a locker room guy you are if you're absolutely dog shit, because at the end of the day, you know what? It piles up. And when Rob Thompson sits there and lets Garrett Stubbs bat in the bottom of the 9th inning, or the 9th inning top, whatever, the 9th inning top or bottom in a game that they are down, and he does not pinch hit him when he has shown absolutely diddly shit the entire game, it adds up. And you know what? It just kind of plants that seed in everybody's head in the locker room. Like, damn, man, this guy really fucking sucks. Like, oh yeah, like nice music. Yeah, good song. Like, glad that you're, oh, cool. You got the overalls on. We're 1-6 in our last 7. And it just plants that seed. And you know what? It quickly flips from that's that locker room guy, that fun mascot, throw a fucking head on him, throw a big gut on him, and put him out in the bleachers as the Fanatic 2.0, because he's a mascot. He's not a fucking MLB player.
First off, Coach, fantastic analogy. I know John Hughes would be proud. Okay. I also don't think you're going to be out on this season. I think we are far too committed. The amount of hours we've already put into this team, it sucks. We're going to be pissed off the entire time.
Coach and I watched the entire game last night.
These
I know we both did
expectations,
because we were both
they're
tweeting
not
the
gonna
same
be
exact shit the entire game.
right? But guys, we do seriously need to have a sit down about Garrett Stubbs, right? Amongst all qualified batters, and he's not qualified, but as far as the league's worst in OPS,
He's certainly not qualified.
He's not qualified. He's got about just shy of 150 at bats.
I
don't
just
know
mean
exactly.
he's not qualified in general.
No,
in
no, he's not. But the lowest amongst qualified batters has an OPS of 580. Okay. Garrett Stubbs' OPS is a full 70 points lower than that. It's at 510 coming into tonight's game. He is literally 2 strikeouts away from breaking into the 400s as far as his OPS. That is abysmal. That is abysmal. There's no excuse, especially when you've had a guy in Marchand that can come up here. He raked. His batting average was what, 298? I don't even know what his slugging is. His slugging was head and shoulders above Stubbs' OPS. Like there's no reason.
And OPS is also currently 495.
Okay, thank you. So maybe I didn't get it for last night's game.
He has a 495 OPS.
For those of you at home, that's on base plus slugging, and that is insanely low.
Yeah, that is not batting average plus. For those that don't know it, it's not batting average plus on base. It's not batting average plus slugging. It is on base percentage, which is any walk, any hit by pitch, any time you safely reach base, plus slugging, which I'm not going to get into slugging because we're not that kind of podcast. Combined.
What kind of power you're getting? Are you hitting singles, doubles, triples?
Yes.
Right? What is this? Right? That's what slugging shows. The guy's not getting
Combined
on base.
Is your OPS.
It's a single. The guy can bunt, and that's it. That's the list. You can bunt. Okay.
Kind of.
At a time like this, right, where this team is slumping, unlike we've ever slumped, something needs to change. Okay. Stubbs needs to get out of the lineup. Even, JT can't take all the damn games. Stubbs needs to get out of there. Okay. And Bohm needs to break up with his girlfriend. Okay. Because we're 4-14 since they've been together. This is ridiculous. Okay. Cut the bullshit. Okay. It's all a facade anyway. All right. Go back to Brandon Marsh and we'll have harmony once again at Citizens Bank Park.
And
seriously.
Look,
you mean Rafael Marchand?
What is that?
I think
go back to Brandon Marsh.
No, I'm saying Alex Bohm and Brandon Marsh.
Yes.
And look, Stubbs is low-hanging fruit, right? Like the bigger issue is 1 through 4, 1 through 5 in the lineup just disappearing on some nights, and them going 0 for 20 with 11 strikeouts. That can't happen. Yeah. That just can't happen when you look at the bank accounts of the 1 through 5 in this lineup. That absolutely cannot happen and should not happen. And look, I saw somebody compare Garrett Stubbs to Boston Scott, and I about lost my fucking mind. Because when Boston Scott was given a chance to get starter carries, this guy was ripping off 120 and 2 touchdowns. This guy was doing the robot in the end zone because he was having a 3-touchdown game, breaking tackles. Like, what is considered a good Stubbs game? Like a slap single, like 1 for 4? And he drew a walk.
I tweeted last night, the wild pitch that he allowed go by is going to be on his highlight tape.
But Jake, here's what's crazy to me is you're absolutely right when you said you and I watched the game because we were tweeting the same shit at the same time. Jake and I weren't texting each other. I wasn't on the Talkin 215 handle. He wasn't talking to me. And I was looking at the timeline and laughing, saying, holy shit, like, I wonder if people think I'm tweeting from this handle right now because we're tweeting the same thing.
Like 10 seconds apart.
On our account.
And if you saw that Garrett Stubbs strikeout, we had Glasnow on the ropes. We had second and third. He had given up a triple, a double, 2 runs. He threw a wild pitch. And Stubbs swings at a ball over his head. And then the next one, he strikes out on a ball that skipped twice in the dirt before it got to home plate. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is the unselfish shit I talked about defensive tackles and the zero technique, comparing that to the Phillies, is knowing your role. Garrett, are you a power hitter? Are you a guy that's going to hit for the gaps? Are you a guy that's going to drive the ball down the line or hit a 2-run double here? No. But what you can be is the guy that draws a walk, bases loaded for Schwarber, and now all of a sudden Glasnow has to be perfect. if he makes one mistake, Schwarber leads the NL in walks. So walking in a run counts as a run too. Or if you make a mistake over the meaty part of the plate, Schwarber can deposit one 480 feet away. So think about that. Why wouldn't you be the fullback that creates the block for the guy behind you? Why wouldn't you be the D tackle that takes on two blockers so your middle linebacker can come through and make the tackle? Why do we have so many people that want to make the play instead of passing the baton? I don't get it, guys.
Coach, I talked to you about it before. Name one non-pitcher that has earned a role on this team, and Rob Thompson's given it to him. He does not do it. He doesn't do it. Rafael Marchand could not have done anything realistically better. Realistically, he outplayed what every single person thought he was going to do. And he has an absolute cannon for an arm. And
his arm is best on the team. Best arm on the team.
Oh, hands down. And how many times did you see a pitch that he's making the most acrobatic stop where his arm is doing something that the human body does not do? He's the best defensive catcher on the team. He's the best arm on the team. And really, I mean, JT's been up and down. I mean, he before
it's
he went out.
It's negligible on offense, right?
What's up?
It's negligible on offense between him and JT, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're talking about, plate appearances, everything. It was a small sample size, but it was large enough where you're like, this isn't a fluke. This guy is routinely getting multi-extra base hit games. He's routinely batting in the 300s. He's routinely making incredible plays behind the plate. And they're like, what could he have done that would have given him the job over Stubbs? I think he could have batted 1,000. And I'm not even joking. I think he could have batted 1,000 and he would have been sent back down.
Well, you see it all the time on like shows like Hard Knocks, right? If you guys have ever seen Hard Knocks, where there's like a preseason darling that just absolutely explodes, has 120 yards each and every game, looks amazing, catching everything, and then he gets cut. And he's like, you see that interaction, like, Coach, what more could I have done? It's a numbers game, son. We're going to put a good word out there. He's like, no, but what more could I have done? Like, you can't tell me if you play your ass off, you're going to get an opportunity to start on this team. And then when I do it and outshine the person I'm competing with, I still don't get that role. And you guys probably know this better than I do. There's expanded rosters when you get to the playoffs, right? I think you get 2 more rosters, 2 or 3 more.
Correct. He's
got to be one of the call-ups, right?
You'd have to imagine. I mean, even if he's an extra bat on the bench, I mean, we're putting Weston Wilson in there as a pinch hitter in back-to-back games. And this is no Weston Wilson hate whatsoever. The kid's doing whatever he needs to do. Like he's doing fine. He's had some home runs. He's had some good hits. He's Weston Wilson. He's a AAA player getting some major league time. Rafael Marchand outperformed every single person's expectations. And I harp back to it. He could have been flawless, and they would have sent him back down because Rob Thompson is so worried about the vibe, so worried about people's feelings. He doesn't give a shit about wins. And again, I don't care that we're the number 1 winning percentage in the National League, because when I see these flaws and I see 0 adjustments, I get mad, because damn well know that if this was happening on the gridiron and we saw the Eagles losing the same way, you saw exactly how we all responded last year. And that's exactly how we should be responding to Kevin Long and Rob Thompson this year, because it's game in and game out, the same exact shit on a different day.
Do we need to wait outside of Citizens Bank Park with like a trash can?
No.
With like Kevin Long's name on it?
Done giving effort.
Should we go? No, let's do the Talkin 215 corny thing and go celebrate them.
You're going to make me attack some more people on Twitter. If that's the case.
This Rob Thompson needs to. He gets after these games and he tells people, we don't want to put Stubbs on waivers, right? We don't want to risk somebody claiming him. Nobody's going to claim him. This guy's legendarily bad. Like, the worst case that happens is he's off the team and we give another guy a shot who deserves it more. And we can see him as a long-term staple of this team much more than Garrett Stubbs. Like, there's no downside. Like,
what's Garrett Stubbs' future on this team? That's my thing.
Right.
Like, what's his future here? You're terrified of losing him. Why keep him? What are we seeing out of him? Nothing. His future is this year, and then he's probably gone.
Yeah, I see a younger, better player in Marchand, and we're just going to keep sending him down because we can, Or do we think long-term this guy might be the guy and he should probably start dipping his toes in some big league at bats?
Yeah,
We've seen
you're seeing the argument of like, oh, he needs every day at bats. I'm like, why? He didn't get every day at bats when he was swapping time with Stubbs, and he did fine.
Great point.
Like, what do you mean he needs every day at bats? He would get spot starts and he'd kill it.
Do you guys remember when he went 4 for 4, had like 3 doubles in the game, went 4 for 4?
Yeah, and he was sat the next game.
Had 3 RBIs when JT was hurt.
Yeah,
benched the next game.
Yep,
benched in this game.
I told you the stats. I posted the stats of wins versus losses, and I said they must be requesting Stubbs, because there's no world in which it makes sense for Stubbs to be getting some of these starts when JT was out. And I was like, the pitcher has to be requesting him. There's no other explanation.
But if you're going to request your own personal catcher, I better see you putting up goose eggs or 1 run over 7 innings.
And that's not what happened. I posted the stats. They were negligibly different. And I think a couple of the pitchers, he actually performed better under Marchand, specifically Wheeler. Wheeler does not pitch well with Stubbs at all. His ERA is over 3 points higher with Stubbs than versus JT.
Yeah, and you got to think that maybe some of these pitchers are going to Thompson and Thompson's asking like, hey, how was the game he called? Right. And then when the pitcher has something, constructive.
I don't speak Spanish.
What if he has anything constructive to say? He's just going, oh, okay, well, then he needs more time. But like, how do you get better at calling these games for your guys? You practice catching games for your guys, right? You don't learn by going down to AAA and catching games from them. Right, those aren't going to be your teammates soon. You're going to have to get adjusted.
Everybody loves JT, but the rumor is he calls a shitty game. You heard anonymous players that have pitched with him, and I said, I don't like the game that JT calls. But obviously,
I'm not about his calling the game as much as I am his framing. I think his framing.
Oh my gosh, his framing is one of the worst in the major league.
The game we lost on the walk-off walk.
He's been called sleeping a couple times.
Alvarez threw a strike, but JT went like that with it, and I'm like, JT, just fucking catch the thing, and we're out of there. Strike 3.
Yeah. No, JT's like, I've never seen where he steals a strike. It's always like, oh, well, he made that one look ugly.
Or keep it there, even if it is a ball, keep it there so the ump knows, hey, I'm sending a message. I'm still holding it here. You sure it's still a ball? And take your sweet time. Do like the double throwback.
Yeah.
You got to send a message. Man,
he totally blew that call. What was it in the 10th against the Mariners?
That's the Suarez pitch,
right?
strike 3.
There's a strike.
He reaches across his body, but he makes it look hideous.
Right, and it's done. And you can't even. How much can you blame the ump on that one? Right, that's on the catcher.
The ump was bad, but I get it. When the catcher is flailing all the way across like that, you're not going to give him the strike ever on that.
That's
just
straight out of the Stubbsy playbook. Yeah. I mean, he looks like he's trying to dodge bullets back there.
Yeah. Look, and again, like we can spend all time on backup catcher, but the reality is, man, the reason I'm so negative and down is because I asked this to Sean last episode, Jake. I said, if I were to just name certain things about the Phillies, you tell me if they're good, yes or no, right now. Starting pitching,
no.
Bullpen,
no.
Hitting,
no.
Fielding.
Yeah.
Maybe, right? Yeah. Like maybe. Yeah. How about situational hitting?
No.
How about hitting with runners in scoring position?
See previous answer.
Exactly. So is there anything that they're good at as a baseball team right now? It's not pitching changes. It's not sacrificing. It's not base running. It's not any of the things that I just mentioned where you could be like, okay, at least the bullpen has been locked fucking down. The offense just needs to get together, or the offense is putting up runs. I'm sure once we get, the starting pitching back, no, the whole team, like Jason Kelsey said, it's the whole team. Everything. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me
it's bad. You see, when you see the starters not go 7 innings and give up 2 or less runs, you're seeing what this team is. And it's a shame. I mean, this is a team that should be. And Sean, you started the episode saying that everybody's playing to their back of their baseball cards. They're not. They're playing terribly. Like, a lot of these guys are not playing to the back of their baseball cards. They're playing well below that. They should be playing a hell of a lot better.
They were playing above. Now they're playing below to where now they're finally their season averages look about the
end
same.
of June, early July, Turner was insane. I mean, it felt like every single game he was hitting 2 home runs a game. Harper had a stretch where it was nuts, and he was the second leading MVP odds. Like you had these stretches, but for the most part, guys were just kind of playing good baseball. You had, again, elite stretches, but you had most guys. JT was playing pretty good, very good baseball. He was playing pretty much his career average because he's been a very good offensive catcher for most of his career. You had Harper doing what Harper does, or what he damn well should be doing. Turner was probably slightly exceeding expectations for that stretch. Schwarber I can't even be mad at Schwarber. He's a 250, 260 hitter with 22 home runs. And then Castellanos, like I said, for the last 45 games is like a 275 hitter. So it's like these guys are really doing what they're doing. And right now they're doing way less than that. You can't say they're playing to the back of their cards when Harper had the first time in his career he was 1 for 34.
That was insane.
Well, that's because his OPS was over 1 before that stretch, right? So now it's back to around 900 right now, right? But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to sit here and defend these guys, right? The only person that's playing even a modicum better than at the beginning of the season, Stott's quietly, climbing his way back up. I think he's batting 243 right now, 245, somewhere in that range. His numbers are starting to look slightly more Stott-esque.
Better average than Casty. 241, Casty's 240.
There we go. Right. There's a couple of your guys that do happen to be playing better, or at least where they should be, right? Casty working these 9, 10, 15 pitch at bats, right? And then what happens? Not a damn thing. Nothing comes of it. Right, we worked the starting pitcher a little bit better, but other than that, nothing really. Right? I mean, there's two guys
because you have the guys after him getting 3 outs on 3 pitches, and I don't mean 3 pitches each. I mean 1 out, 2 out, 3 out.
We talked a lot last week about making adjustments, right? About how everybody's throwing fastballs at Harper, right? You look at Trey Turner, and now everybody's throwing breaking balls.
Oh yeah, he's lost the breaking.
He's got Casty last year syndrome.
Yeah. Right. He's not getting fed any more high fastballs, so we can send him into orbit.
Yeah.
Right. That's over. Right. It's August now. These guys, the book is out, and it's up to them. It's up to the hitting coach. It's up to the pitching coach. It's up to the coaching staff and the players to readjust to the adjustments. Right. So we're seeing that happen. That slump happen because of all these things. The book is being written on kind of everybody. Right. We're reverting back to normal, where the guys that weren't playing up to their standards are finally. Right, because they don't have a book out on them because they've been playing like shit.
You know what that sound is. That's the sound of summer, and there's no better way to kick off this summer season than with an ice-cold Dewey beer. Dewey Beer recently voted the #1 brew pub in the nation. The nation, #1 brew pub with locations in Delaware and even in Colorado, has some of the coldest, crispest, most delicious beer I have ever tasted. And you're going to be able to get it for free at the Talkin 215 free beer Phillies tailgates. We're always advertising them on our social media, but enough about that. Let's talk about Dewey for a little bit. Locally owned and operated, they use only the finest ingredients and go through a painstaking process to make sure that the best product possible is in that can, and you need that can in your hand. Head on over to deweybeerco.com to see where Dewey is sold near you and get yourself some of the delicious El Trono, Swishy Pants, or any of their other incredible beers. Dewey Beer. Let's kick off summer right, folks.
And what I want to ask you guys is what do you think a bad habit can be broken in a major league player that's been in the league this long, or at this point in the season? And what I'm asking about is like last night, there was a point where we had struck out 12 times before Schwarber drew a walk in the 8th inning. 12 strikeouts before you even have 1 walk is fucking insane. And if you look at the pitch chart and everything, the amount of pitches that are a foot high, a foot low, a foot off the plate, and I'm thinking to myself, and Jake, this goes back to your point of Kevin Long, is I see these guys on the iPad, right? They're in the dugout, looking at the iPad, and I'm at what point are you guys saying, hey, if it's not a fastball, lay off it, because it's probably a breaking pitch that's 6 to 8 inches off the plate. Let's get some walks. Let's get this pitch count up and wait for our pitches, because if we get 2 guys on base, he's going to have to start throwing fastballs. He cannot just keep throwing these breaking balls in the dirt if we have 2 people on base. So do you think, and look, I don't know how to word this question, you guys. I think they're selfish, like Sean said, and they're playing for the back of the card. They want a home run. They don't want to walk. Like, a walk isn't sexy. That's like the tush push. Like, it got us a first down. I don't give a fuck how we got the first down. We got a first down. Like, it's not sexy, but it helps win games. Do you think they're capable of doing that? Are they, at this point in the season, this point in their careers? You want to win a World Series. Why wouldn't you do that stuff?
No, you're seeing so many weird things this season. They started the year as one of the most aggressive teams on the base path.
Yeah.
They started the year swiping everything. It was incredible. And yeah, you got caught stealing every now and then, but you weren't all that mad at it because you were like, you know what? You tried. You went and you tried to take advantage of it. And what did we do at the beginning of the year? Oh, that's right. We went out at a ridiculously hot pace and set the tone in the National League. And now, for whatever reason, they've lost all aggression. They've completely reverted back to what we saw in the NLCS last year. And you're just seeing the same exact team. You're seeing some guys do okay, maybe good, but everybody, for the most part, has reverted back to just swinging for the fences. And so, yeah, I think they can. They've done it in the past. They've had stretches where you're like, holy cow, like 3 straight walks, like we're actually watching things. But it's like you see a 9-pitch at bat, you see a 10-pitch at bat, or even you see a 4-pitch at bat with 4 straight balls, and you have no faith that they're going to take the next pitch.
What do we always talk about? If the person walks, the very next batter is going to do what?
It's going to swing at the first pitch.
Swing at the first pitch.
I mean, it's over. And like it's not every time. Like we joke like, oh, it's a lock.
It is a lot though.
It's not every time, but it's the fact that it's over 75, 80% of the time that you're like, that's not okay. That makes no sense. Is there's that little confidence in our 1 and 2 strike approach, or is it truly Kevin Long? Because how many times have you heard the Kevin Long philosophy is if you see a pitch you like, jump on it. Regardless of where it is in the at bat, if it's the first pitch and you like it, jump on it. That shouldn't be the philosophy. It should be something where you're basing it on how that pitcher is going that game.
Yeah, so that's exactly the point that I want to bring up is that it seems like they don't do any sort of, I don't know. So there's no sort of scouting throughout the day, throughout the game, right? You don't see these guys on iPads, right, throughout the innings. You don't see these coaches talking. You don't see, right? Like we have a guy in Zach Wheeler who pretty much every single time he's at the plate, and this last Sunday was a textbook case of it. He wants to go up 0-2, right? So he's going to throw a fastball right around the corners for strike 1. And he's going to throw a breaking pitch, starts outside, ends up in the strike zone, strike 2. Okay. And then he's going to throw a ball way outside. Just make sure you're still paying attention. That 3-pitch sequence, lefty, righty, it doesn't matter. That's the sequence, right? And I couldn't believe that it was so obvious to see. He was just spamming it, right? Like he was playing a video game, right? And what this team doesn't do is scout that says, okay, on righties, he's really favoring his fastball in, right? For pitch 1, for strike 1. Right. He's really trying to get ahead on the count. He's really trying to throw off speed this game. Right. It seems like when you see like even the graphics on TV where it's like, oh, yeah, he's throwing 40% four seamers and his sliders only 19% of the time. It feels like we have that information and they don't. Yeah. Right. Because it seems like they have no feel for how the starting pitcher is going about his business on that particular day. There has to be more scouting where we're saying, okay, lefties, this is how he's approaching his at-bats through 2 innings, through 3 innings, right? Righties, this is how he's playing with his at-bats. And you don't see it. You see it time and time again where you have no feel, right? The guy's not throwing strikes right down the dick on his first pitch. So why would you swing at that? I don't care if you just walk the guy, right? This is the approach he's going with. Is it working? Okay, so he's going to keep doing it, right? Why don't we see that?
Sean, that's
we don't see anything.
Point. Excellent point, dude. Did you guys listen to the broadcast of when we played Seattle? I think it was Ruben and T-Mac on the call, and it was either Wu or Gilbert, one of the starting pitchers that has a rising fastball. He throws a high fastball every time he has a 2-strike count. And they said it's like 85% of the time he has a 2-strike count, he's throwing a high rising fastball, and that's his main pitch 65% of the time. Yeah. And Ruben kept going. It's 2-2. Here comes the rising fastball. Strike 3. Yeah. It's 2-2. Here comes the rising fastball. And regardless of what you think of Ruben tomorrow, he was like Sean, you talked about Tony Romo and Christian McCaffrey calling the plays. He called it every time. We're swinging under each one. And I'm like, do they not have access to this information?
Me and Rube are like this, okay? I don't say it because he catches a lot of flack online, but there's so many times where I'll say something out loud, right? Just it's like me and Lauren at the house, and I'll say something, and 10 seconds later he says it. And I'm like, I told you. Why can we see this? Why can we see this? How come nobody's saying it down there? Nobody has to be saying it down there. Like, it happens so often. I'm like, I can't even, people are going to think I'm like full of shit, or, oh, that guy just thinks whatever the hell Ruben Amaro thinks. Like, but there's literally like a dozen times where I've said something and then he says it immediately afterwards.
It's annoying.
That's all. I can't prove it. But that just, you jogged my memory. It happened for the 48th time last 2 nights ago.
I just miss, like, you, Coach, you said earlier, you're like, yeah, you're going to say I'm a bitch. Like, I just miss watching games and you're just like, that's my team. Like, being proud and watching these guys and just knowing that they're clutch and knowing that they're going out there and they're doing the little ball dance on second base. They do nothing. They got, like, you want to talk about vibes? They want to talk about this family? They don't have, like, they do nothing. It's a me game. Huh?
They have not stayed loose and sexy. I'll tell you that much.
No, they're not loose. They're not sexy. It's all a me game. There's no celebrating. I mean, obviously, what is there to celebrate right now? But it's everybody out there playing for themselves. And you hear these guys, like, I haven't listened to WIP in 9 months, but you hear people saying, like, you see them every now and then on Twitter when somebody else retweets them and about, like, oh, reports are they still haven't had any kind of team meeting. And then you have one of these idiot hosts like, yeah, but what is that really going to accomplish? Like, what do you mean? Like, when are you going to have somebody step up and say what we're saying? Say, like, guys, what are we doing? We know we're doing the same exact shit every single game. We're striking out the same exact way every single at bat. When are we going to sit down and have somebody really take a leadership role and be like, hey, this is unacceptable. We need to change.
You know why they haven't? Because every single time you catch one of these guys in an interview, maybe after the game, and they say, well, what do you do to get yourself out of a slump? And they go, I don't know, nothing. You just got to keep playing baseball. It's just the way it is. It's just baseball, right? So when they're all just sitting there, they're not even down on themselves. They're just like, yeah, we suck. It happens, whatever. Like, there's no reason to improve. We don't even know where we are in the standings. Okay. We've had 2 players this week say the same thing. Like, oh, I don't really know where we are in the standings. Maybe you should take a look. Okay. Because you had an 11-game lead. Okay. 2 weeks ago. And now it's down to 5. Okay. You have lost 6 games on the lead right now. In 2 more weeks, if this continues, you will be in second place.
Yeah.
Okay. So
they're lucky the injuries the Braves have. They're incredibly lucky the injuries that the Braves have.
The Braves would be in first place during this stretch if they had their normal roster. 100%.
Oh yeah. And it would be close. Like, again, we say all this, like the Phillies still have the highest winning percentage in the National League. And we say all this, like it would still be very close, and the Phillies would still be a very good team. It's just, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Go Birds, really. Go Birds.
Do you guys remember watching the Eagles during their Super Bowl run? And we were on this podcast talking about, and this goes to Sean's point about how they don't study pitchers and they're just confused. They're like, oh, I guess I'll just do my normal swing against this pitcher the same way I would this next pitcher, when that shouldn't be the case. When the Eagles went on their run, there were games where we would rush for 250, 300 yards and Jalen would only throw for 180. There were games when Jalen would throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns and we'd only rush for 70. There were games where we were balanced, where it was like 250 rushing, 250 throwing. Jalen had a couple on the ground. He had 2 to AJ. And there were games where, the defense would step up and, we kick field goals.
Yeah, we won every single imaginable way possible.
Exactly. So if you're taking away our pass, we're going to get you with the run. You're putting 8 in the box, we're going to get you with the pass. But the Phillies are like, oh, man, they keep throwing breaking balls off the plate. Instead of taking walks, we're just going to keep swinging until we hit one. We're just going to keep swinging and swinging and swinging. And hopefully we make contact with one of these instead of just saying, hey, guess what? If you're going to keep throwing balls off the plate, walk us. The Seattle Mariners walked like 7 times against us and walked off with a walk. And Jake, if you remember specifically, the Diamondbacks manager and pitcher, Merrill Kelly, said last year, we knew
what they were doing.
We knew that they were expanding the plate, they were expanding the zone, and so we weren't giving them anything in the zone to hit, and they were chasing. And that was our philosophy the last 4 games of the series, was to just keep throwing stuff off the plate. And how did the Phillies adjust? Oh, wait, trick question. They didn't. They did not.
Am I correct that they said that mid-series?
I don't know.
I think somebody said that like during the series.
Like when they tied it up, maybe they had to interview him. Like, what did you guys do to come back and tie it up?
And they still didn't change. I could be wrong, but I feel like one of the players or coaches said that mid-series, and they were like, and it's just a slap in the face. Like, yeah, we can tell them exactly what we're going to do. They're still not going to change.
Yeah.
And then we're just seeing it yet again, and it's just as unacceptable now as it was then. But I got to get a little positive. The Birds, every report I'm hearing out of the training camp has been phenomenal. Like the one downside is you can say is, oh, the defense hasn't gotten an interception off of Jalen.
That's good.
Yeah, no, it seems like everybody's got right on the defense. It seems like, Slay's had his day, any sort of safeties had their rough practices here and there. It's training camp, so it's definitely tilted more geared towards the offense, right? They're not hitting but once every blue moon. And I don't even know if they're really hitting every once in a blue moon nowadays, but yeah, man, it seems like everybody's great. All right. Well, if everybody's great, then what do we have to take away from this? I mean, somebody's got to be playing bad.
I think this is a testament to Kellen Moore, guys. We talked about how big of an off-season addition that was. I mean, the spacing is crazy with this offense right now. The spacing. You're seeing motion with Hurts under center, in pistol, in shotgun, run, misdirection, bootlegs, play act. I mean, the amount of things under this, and you have a brand new defense being installed, and then you have all this motion where they're trying to like figure out what to do while they're having a new defense installed. Of course, it's probably going to be tough on them, right? Like, I totally get that. I really, really do. But I really, really think this is a testament to, one, that bitter taste in our mouth from last year from how it ended, to two, Kellen Moore's influence on this offense, guys. Like, I think it is such a breath of fresh air, and the one that we needed. Like, we've changed our approach, something the Phillies don't do. We changed our approach on offense, and I credit them for doing that.
No, 1,000%. I mean, we actually had a couple of followers reach out to us being like, hey, where do you kind of feel like Devontae Smith is going to be fantasy-wise? I got my draft coming up. And I was like, look, man, like, you're hearing a lot of people say that he's doing great. He's got like the surest hands throughout all training camp. You've seen a lot of highlight things. I'm like, but you're going to be in a scenario which I think Sean covered it great. I think Dallas Goedert's going to get an uptick in targets, an uptick in usage. I think obviously any team that has had Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator, you've seen the wide receiver 3 thrive in those scenarios. And then we've also added Saquon Barkley, who is not only one of the best rushers in the NFL, but also is incredible at catching the ball. So I was like, it's tough. He's poised to be the best wide receiver that he's been in his career, but the volume just might not be there. Which, again, I don't care. You know what I mean? I love fantasy football. I'm in some big money leagues. I talk a lot about it, and I play in all kinds of leagues. I will take an Eagles win in me losing every single league every time. If the Eagles end up winning the Super Bowl, I will wear whatever you want. I'll do whatever punishment that I have to do in last place fantasy. I don't care. But it's a great problem to have when you're actually talking about real NFL football as opposed to fantasy, because we're just going to see guys utilized. And, Coach, you just brought it up. When the defense does one thing, how are you going to adjust to it? I think we are poised to be able to be like, oh, okay, you guys are really trying to hone in on our top 2 guys, AJ and Devontae. Guess what? Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, it's your time to shine. Guess what? You're hearing the big name out of camp. Coach, or Sean, what was the award that we used to give out in training camp?
Oh boy, don't put me on the spot because is it what was his name? The Paul
Turner training camp champ. Paul Turner training camp champ. Right now, apparently that's Johnny Wilson. Apparently Johnny Wilson is looking like the unicorn that everybody said he was. At what is he? 6'6", like 6'6", 6'7".
Huge.
Yeah, 6'7". He ran like a low 4.5, something like that.
Yeah.
Like maybe even was like a high 4.4. But obviously the big knock on him was he had snakes for hands. He's got hands like a snake. He got no hands. But if you can figure out that part, which is, somewhat important as an NFL wide receiver, he's going to be something. They're saying he's having a really great camp. So it's like you get him involved. You get Paris Campbell involved. You get Dallas Goedert involved. You get Saquon Barkley. Oh, and the happiest I've been all year was watching Jalen Hurts race Dallas Goedert, and they both look lightning fast.
I was going to bring that up because that is something so silly. Right.
Hurts looked slow as shit last year. It is not silly. Hurts looked slow.
Hurts looked fast.
Slow.
Hurts looked fast at practice. He legged that out against Goddard. If he can hang out with Goddard, then we're in a much better spot, right? From just an explosive playmaking capability already than we were last year, right? With all other things created equal.
What are they going to be able to do to stop this? Like, and I get it. Like, I'm optimistic. I'm high. It's the Eagles. We got first preseason game on the 9th. I know no starters are going to play in it, but I can't wait. Like, we're high on it. We're going to be talking about our preseason way too early awards that we're giving out, all this stuff. But like, what can a defense do to stop this team right now?
Injure our linemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Jake, I thought you made an excellent point. That fantasy point with Devontae Smith is I think that the Eagles are going to be a very, very tough fantasy team.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so much to be spread around. But if you're an Eagles fan, and I think that's a lot of time what's hard, right, as a fan, right? Separating.
Yeah, fantasy. You want to draft your guys. You want to be like, yeah, I want to have a team full of Eagles.
Yeah, you want to do that. And look, what some people get lost in the side of fantasy is like, it doesn't matter if the player you have, his team loses by 50. If he had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, like you don't give a shit if his NFL team lost by 50.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of fantasy. What Jake is trying to say is Devontae Smith may go 2 straight weeks of having 3 catches for 60 yards, but there may be 2 weeks in a row where he has 8 catches, 140 and a touchdown.
And in all 4 games, the Eagles offense is putting up 45 points. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. Saquon will run one in, Hurts will run one in. Then there's a Dallas game. Then there's an AJ game. Like you just never know. So really, I would say Jalen Hurts is probably a safe bet because he's the distributor, right?
Jalen Hurts, and I feel like Barkley is probably going to be
Barkley as well because I think Barkley's going to take some of those tush-push opportunities. And he's going to be a benefactor of seeing some linebacker one-on-ones, which he'll eat up. But yeah, to Jake's point, I thought it was a great analogy of if you're an Eagles fan, you don't care who scores, how they score. The offense is going to be great. But as a fantasy player, you may just be having to play, close your eyes and throw darts and say, is it going to be AJ's day, Devontae? We don't know. But it's a good problem, like you said.
Just take a look at some of those Cowboys offenses where he was under the helm. It seemed like CeeDee Lamb out the slot was crushing it every single week, right? Absolutely. We don't even know who's going to be in the slot most of the time just yet, right? It could be Devontae for all we know. I have no idea, right?
It could be a rotating thing. It could be changed
mid-game. And it probably will be, right? So we have no idea who the beneficiary is going to be. We just know that there's only one football to go around. Right.
Isn't that good though? I mean, I want to ask you, do you guys like the fact that we don't know?
Oh, yeah. No,
I love that.
No, it's
because last year in the pod, we could tell you exactly what the Eagles were going to do on 3rd down, what they would do on 2nd down, what they would do inside the 5, what they would do inside the 10. You knew before the game started what plays we were going to run, right? And now we're on this podcast talking, I don't know who's going to be the wide receiver 3. I don't know who's going to catch the most ball. I don't know who's going to do it. And I love that.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at some of the best wide receivers around the league as far as fantasy-wise goes. Recently, like the past 2 years, like Justin Jefferson, Vikings stink. Like when you can find, and like I'll name some more, but like my point behind it is when you can find like, oh, that guy is clearly going to be the best wide receiver in fantasy. Typically, it's because he's the only weapon on the team. He's the guy that's going to get them in. Like you have, Jamar Chase. Like the Bengals should be pretty good. Obviously, Burrow got hurt last year, so they underperformed. But like either way, they didn't end up going anywhere. So he was kind of like, okay, he's a sure thing, and their team didn't perform. You have Cooper Kupp. The Rams kind of stunk last year, and you had what's his name, Puka Nacua come out of nowhere and go nuts. Yeah, like the one of the names on a pretty good team is like Amon-Ra St. Brown. He ended up being one of the best wide receivers, and the Lions ended up being pretty damn good. And then obviously AJ Brown, but now I don't think, like, obviously AJ, I think, is going to be a little bit on the safer side because he is a top 10, top 5 wide receiver in the NFL, but strictly because of the ability that we're going to be able to have to spread the offense around. There's going to be weeks where you're like, oh, I got to start AJ Brown here. They're playing the worst pass defense in the league. And so for whatever reason, we rushed for 385 yards.
I mean, think about the analogy we made earlier on the show about the Phillies and hero ball and wanting that. You can have a game where AJ draws double team and Dallas is wide open for a touchdown. Smitty's wide open for a touchdown. Hey, even Johnny Wilson or Saquon Barkley out the backfield, because AJ Brown or whoever it is that's drawing a double team or drawing coverage is saying, as long as we're winning, as long as we're scoring, it doesn't need to be me. It does not need to be me.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't seem like what the Phillies are, though, Jake. The Phillies are like, oh, I need this ball right here, right now. I need this time right now. Instead of saying, I'll take this walk. So that let's
be fair. We're assuming that that's what the Eagles are going to be because that's not what they were last year.
No, not at all. Not at all.
What's going to be this year?
No, it just seems like
that's what it was when they were at their best. When we were
from camp, and what we're hearing and what we're seeing, Smitty's having a day, Dallas is having a day, AJ's having a day, Saquon's having a day, and like you like hearing that. You like hearing that everybody's been like having their opportunities.
No, exactly. Like the main downside is like you have Cooper DeJean still has that hamstring injury. He's going to be battling back. Hopefully, we'll be able to see him in a preseason game. Like that's the only real downside. Is just some of these guys that we really hope to see what they're going to be able to do. Tyler Steen, a guy I've been pretty vocally high on. He's been very limited throughout all of training camp, but you've had guys step up in their absence. You've had Isaiah Rodgers has apparently looked nuts throughout training camp. You've had a number of Keely Ringo apparently has had a pretty solid camp thus far. Eli Ricks apparently has had days where he was kind of flashing a little bit. So you're having these guys step up in these situations. But Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore being in the positions that they're in, as well as the cast that we have, like, again, you're still going to be a little bit worried about linebacker. You're still worried about safety depth. I personally think CJ, GJ, and Reed Blankenship are going to do just fine. But after that is when you kind of scratch your head a little bit with Sidney Brown not being able to practice until the end. It's going to take him a little bit of time to really get his sea legs under him again. And then who else? You got James Bradbury, who is what? Is he really making the team as a safety? Like, are we actually considering that? Like,
I mean, I think
maybe
his chances increase the more injuries at safety we keep having. Probably, and let's just say this too, Jake. Much maligned James Bradbury, but shout out to him for saying, you know what? If I got to switch positions to help this team, if I got to put my pride aside, I played like shit last year. Whatever I got to do to help this team, if you need me to be backup safety as opposed to a starting outside corner just 1 year ago removed from being all pro, I'll do it. And I think as much as we shit on the guy because of how bad he played, that says a lot about the man's character.
No, it's a tip of the cap. It's a tip of the cap to James there. Like it's a real, and even last year, he didn't say anything other than like, there's a comment here, comment there. But again, we're not in their positions. Like we're not immediately after a super frustrating loss where, you were pretty much targeted at the end of the game. Like you're not going to always be able to handle all those emotions and make all the correct answers or all the answers that we want to hear. But he never outright said or did anything other than his play on the field that you were like, man, screw that guy. Like he was always relatively mild-mannered, soft-spoken. And so now he's out there. They're like, they want me to be safety. Like, that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do. And he's given it his all, obviously. And apparently he's had some pretty solid days. I'd still personally be slightly surprised that he made the final roster spot. But again, like you said, we have Sidney Brown. If he suffers any kind of setback, you get any kind of other injuries to any of these safety guys. I mean, who do we have at safety? We got CJ, GJ, Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, and then what? James Bradbury?
James Bradbury.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Do we have another safety on the team currently?
I guess it depends what they want to do with Cooper DeJean. But he's not a safety that he's played that in college. He's always played corner. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that their plan for him was to mix him a little bit outside, a little bit inside. So let me ask you, Jake, did Justin Simmons kill someone or did he die?
I mean, you have to imagine he's just sticking to his guns if he needs to make a shit ton of money.
Does he need to fire his agent? Because if his agent is keeping him off of our roster at this point, we're recording this on August 6th right now. We've already had the Hall of Fame game. And I know NFL players stay in shape, but there's a difference between the shape you're in when you're in camp and the shape when you're just training by yourself. Like, we know this, like if you're part of a team and going, outside and in the heat and in those long practices versus, oh, I'm just in the air conditioning gym training, waiting for my call. It's not the same, no matter how hard you train. So
yeah,
I really think this is like a misstep by his manager.
1,000%.
If that's the case, maybe
No,
there's something that we don't know, but.
And you keep hearing these. I mean, again, it's just beat reporters, not even saying like that they're linked. You just keep hearing people being like, "Oh, it would make so much sense for him to end up on the Eagles. It would just make so much sense. It's a perfect fit." And so there's nothing concrete or no kind of people that I really trust that are involved that are saying like, "Oh yeah, there is something there between Simmons and the Eagles." But I would love for him to come over here. Obviously, if the price is right, but at this point, you have to imagine it's just kind of name your price to an extent, because if anybody was close, wouldn't he have signed?
Nobody's paying top dollar August 6th at this point. Nobody is giving you what you initially had in mind, your price tag when you entered free agency. You're nowhere near it at this point. I think you have to look at whatever, was it Glover Quinn who just signed recently with somebody for like 1 year, $6 million, but it was incentive based. So it's really like a 2.8 base with like 3.2, something like that. You have to do one of these, what do they call it? Like prove it contracts, 1 year. Like,
yeah, I mean, Quandre Diggs just signed.
Quandre Diggs, that's who it is. Quandre Diggs, yeah. You have to do one of those where you say, okay, the market isn't what I want this year. I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to do a 1 year contract, for whatever's feasible. I'm going to get a starting role, and he would start over a Blankenship. And I think that would be,
Don't disrespect my boy Reed like that.
I'm not disrespecting. I'm just saying,
don't do it.
Justin Simmons' best year. Guess which defense coordinator he played under? Just guess.
Vic Fangio.
Weird. So that's what I'm saying. You have CJ and Justin Simmons back there, and then your two backups are Reed Blankenship, and I'm blanking on the name.
CJ GJ?
No, the
other safeties that we had. Kevin Byard was back there.
No, who's hurt right now? The rookie from last year.
Oh, Sidney Brown.
Sidney Brown. God, I couldn't remember his name for some reason.
I mean, in 5 years, they're going to be the best safety duo we've had since.
You said that. Remember that. You said that.
Yeah, we got 4 more years, including this year.
Well, that's my point. It's like, if he's cheap, I mean, Justin Simmons, you and your agent need to face reality here. Okay, like the clock is ticking.
You're wrong.
I am not wrong. I'm boring Jake to death with that. No, Justin Simmons.
Look, if for anybody that's like, what kind of background are we at here? I am recording in the soon-to-be new Talkin 215 studios, not this room, but I did purchase a house. I'm a homeowner. I'm yawning because I have worked incredibly hard over the past 2 weeks, and I feel as though I've accomplished absolutely nothing. But I mean, I guess it's slowly coming along, but I'm excited to have the entire little den, studio, man cave, bar, Eagles room all set up, and I can't wait to show everybody. I really think it's going to be pretty sick. We're going to have Dewey Beer on tap. Shout out Dewey Beer. They're going to be supplying us with some kegs. We got a 3-tap kegerator. So we're going to have 3 different beers on tap. We're going to have 2 TVs in there. Sunday ticket on the 55-inch, birds on the 75. The floor is the entire floor in that room is a putting green. So that's going to be pretty sick. And it's on a concrete floor. So we're drilling like 3-inch holes into the floor. You're going to be able to putt in there, watch a game, pour beer on tap. Going to have all kinds of seating. Walls are midnight green. Can't be mad at it. So I mean, I'm really excited to do all that. But no, I'm a little tuckered out from painting. This whole painting your house thing, it sucks.
It's stupid.
It really sucks.
It's dumb. It's pointless.
No, I mean, it looks good. I mean, trust me, it looks. I'll show some before and after. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did, but it sucks. Yeah, that's my final thought. Painting your house, it sucks.
Well, congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Final thought.
Yeah, my final thought is going to be a little bit different tonight. As the Phillies are playing the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman's son was diagnosed with a horrible disease that, it was very, very tough for them. They weren't sure if he was going to make it at first, but now it looks like he's recovering and he's doing well. And he has to relearn a lot of things, whether it be muscular, whether it be speaking, whether it be different things like that. And just listening to Freddie Freeman's, interview about how a lot of the Phillies reached out to him and talked to him and called him and texted him during that time. It just shows you that sometimes there's things bigger than sports, man. So at the end of the day, when we argue on Twitter, when we have opinions on a podcast, when we scream and shout and all this stuff, at the end of the day, there's things bigger than sports, man. So just glad to hear that Freddie Freeman's son is doing a little bit better and that sports 100%. Can be that getaway for him. And it's kind of like one big family. And that's what we do here at the end of the day. So talking 215, one big family. Shout out Freddie Freeman.
No, for sure. Shout out Freddie Freeman.